According to General Hospital spoilers, Cameron Matheson recently revealed why he worried Drew might actually die and what was next for this villain. In a new interview with SOD, Matheson discussed his character's fall into baddie territory, as well as what's next. When Drew's behavior began to deteriorate and his enemies list grew, many fans suspected a whodunit was in the works. Many people believed Drew would be murdered off, and it turns out that Cameron Matheson did as well. Absolutely! When asked if he considered the likelihood that Drew may meet a tragic end, Matheson stated, 1000%. Matheson argued that as soon as Drew started along this wicked path, he began to consider that catastrophic decision. Matheson, who understands how soap operas work, suspected that his character would be sacrificed for the sake of a storyline. Of course, the GH writers kept Drew alive instead, so they now have a whodunit involving a living victim rather than a deceased one. Cameron Matheson was obviously happy because he enjoys being a part of the cast. Matheson believes his character is a fantastic villain who can bring more drama, so he's definitely hoping viewers will join him on the trip, even if they're not delighted with Drew waking up. Drew's awakening at the hospital demonstrated that he is still as manipulative as ever, as he promptly directed the police to Michael Corinthos' whereabouts. Drew's main objective in the future will be to use this scenario to pursue Michael. He's going to use this to target Michael regardless of whether Michael is the shooter, according to Matheson. I think he partially believes Michael shot him, but even if he doesn't, it's flat out an opportunity to bring Michael down so Willow gets her kids back. Matheson suggested Drew's back in the game and ready to be a master manipulator again, so it sounds like this shooting ordeal has emboldened him to behave even worse. According to General Hospital teasers, Drew will throw some intriguing curveballs in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for updates on any bad news that may arise. CDL is the place to go for great General Hospital spoilers, news, and updates, so make us your favorite GH destination. General Hospital spoilers and updates raise a key question: how could Caesar Faison have survived with his brain in a jar? Kevin Collins had it taken for study and pickled in formaldehyde on his desk. May Professor Henry Dalton have cloned a piece? Valentine Cassadine implied Faison may be alive and the big boss of Five Poppies in the GH episode that aired Monday, September 8th. Valentine Cassadine spoke from Steinmauer via video call with WSB Field Office Director Jack Brennan. Valentine informed Brennan that he had known Colette Moreau in the past and that she was a double agent working for Faison. The debate shifted to who the big boss is who runs the lab the Five Poppies Resort is a cover for, and Valentine hinted that it was Faison. When Brennan complained that Faison's brain was in a jar, Valentine replied, "If you say so." But Faison's brain is in a jar, or was when we last saw it. Faison's brain was in a jar, or at least it was the last time we saw it, and Kevin had sliced a few slices to study under a microscope. He wanted to see what made the maniac tick, even though valuable research toward a treatment for Huntington's disease would have been a more admirable alternative. And yet, all these years later, Britt Westbourne is in remission, reportedly due to the shots she is taking, which were most likely manufactured in the lab at Five Poppies. It appears plausible that someone else took a piece or two of Faison's pickled brain, not just to produce this serum, but also to replicate Britt's father. And Professor Henry Dalton, who also appeared in Colette's discussions, is suspected of cloning and possibly experimenting on animals. Could Caesar Faison be the big boss in charge of the show? Could Caesar Faison or his clone be the major boss running the show, as Britt threatens Pascal, or has Caesar lived a different life? According to General Hospital spoilers, Britt's brother, Nathan West, is alive in some way. Could the person who viewers would see as Nathan actually be Caesar in his son's body, possibly via memory transfer? Viewers witnessed Nathan and Caesar in corpse bags, and Nathan was buried with full police honors after being killed by his father while defending Maxie Jones. Jason Morgan killed Caesar while defending Carly Spencer. Nonetheless, both appear to be alive, possibly cloned by Dalton. Cameron Matheson, a veteran actor recognized for his captivating performances, recently discussed his role as Drew Quartermain on the long-running soap opera General Hospital. In an honest interview, Matheson discussed the deep emotions and uncertainty he felt about his character's fate, particularly the dread that Drew would die tragically. His candor in contemplating this possibility struck a chord with viewers who have grown close to Drew's tumultuous path on the show. Matheson's insights not only illuminated the behind-the-scenes dynamics of soap opera narrative, but also provided insight into the creative decisions that form cherished characters. He also hinted at Drew's future arcs and how they would fit into the rich web of relationships and drama in Port Charles. This revelation comes as General Hospital continues to captivate audiences with its mix of romance, intrigue, and unexpected turns, keeping them on the edge of their seats. The soap opera market feeds on high-stakes drama, and Matheson's portrayal of Drew has been a key component of recent events. His concern over Drew's potential death originated from the unpredictable nature of soap opera plots, in which characters frequently confront life-or-death situations to build emotional effect. Matheson explained that writers and producers keep actors on their toes by withholding critical story pieces until the last minute. This uncertainty, while nerve-wracking, adds to the sincerity of his portrayal, as the genuine strain he feels reflects the stakes of Drew's journey. Fans of General Hospital understand that no character is ever truly secure, and Matheson's comments emphasize this fact, heightening the tension surrounding Drew's fate. Drew Quartermaine, a character with strong ties to the show's heritage, has faced a slew of problems, ranging from family feuds to romantic relationships. Matheson's affinity to the role is clear in how he discusses Drew's resilience and vulnerabilities. He noted the emotional weight of playing a character who is continuously tested, whether by treachery, bereavement, or personal issues. Drew's complexity makes him approachable, as viewers witness him deal with universal themes such as love, loyalty, and survival. Matheson's concern over Drew's death was not only about losing a character he enjoyed, but also about the impact it would have on the audience, who had invested years in following Drew's narrative. Behind the scenes, Matheson indicated that discussions concerning Drew's possible fate were part of larger deliberations over the show's direction. Soap operas frequently employ character deaths to shift stories or establish new conflicts, and Matheson was well aware of the prospect. He admitted to feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration when he discovered Drew would be okay, at least for now. This revelation enabled him to delve deeper into the character's next chapter, which he hinted would have important events. Without giving too much away, Matheson teased that Drew's forthcoming arcs would delve into new aspects of his personality, relationships, and status within the Quartermaine family. Drew has an important part in the Quartermaine family, a fundamental pillar of General Hospital. Matheson hinted that viewers should expect more tension and surprises as Drew navigates the family's power dynamics and relationships. The actor's excitement for the impending storylines was evident, and he expressed thanks for the opportunity to play such a vibrant character. He also applauded the General Hospital team's collaborative attitude, stating that the show's writers, directors, and co-stars all contribute to its long-running popularity. Matheson's experience at General Hospital is simply one chapter in his multifaceted career. He brings a plethora of experience to his position as Drew, having been in television movies, hosted events, and even competed on Dancing with the Stars. His ability to connect with people originates from his genuine interest in storytelling and dedication to sincerity. During the conversation, he discussed how his personal experiences, such as overcoming health issues and balancing family life, influence his portrayal of Drew. This commitment to the character deepens his acting, making Drew's difficulties and accomplishments even more powerful. The soap opera landscape is constantly changing, and Matheson's comments emphasize the delicate balance between honoring a show's heritage and moving its story forward. Drew's survival assures that his story can continue, much to the delight of fans. Matheson's indications regarding Drew's future suggest that viewers can expect emotional highs and lows, as well as unexpected events that challenge him in new ways. The possibilities for a revived romance, a devastating betrayal, or a deeper examination of his Quartermaine ancestry are limitless. For fans, Matheson's interview serves as a reminder of why General Hospital is still a cultural touchstone. The show's ability to keep fans guessing while telling emotionally compelling stories demonstrates its continuing appeal. Matheson's candor regarding his anxieties and hopes for Drew's future exemplifies the series' intensity. As General Hospital weaves its complicated tapestry of drama, Drew Quartermaine, and Cameron Matheson's passionate portrayal will definitely remain at the center of the action. The room was calm save for the subtle buzz of the hospital's machinery, but the energy in Port Charles had changed since whispers about Cesar Faison spread. People believed he had died. The victim had been shot, his corpse burned, and his remains were allegedly stored for evidence. But unusual incidents have a way of unraveling even the most solid truths, and this time, something deeper was at work. Jason was the first to receive a weird tip from one of his international contacts, concerning an experimental program employing neural tissue fragments taken from Faison's body. Nobody wanted to believe it, but the evidence was mounting. Someone had tampered with science in a way that blurred the line between life and death. Dalton, the enigmatic ex-WSB scientist, was thought to have vanished following his humiliating departure years ago, but rumors said he had returned, working secretly on a classified project to modify memory and awareness. If he had gotten his hands on even a little of Faison's preserved brain tissue, it was possible that a ghost of Faison, his memories, instincts, and brutality, was walking among them again. Jason knew he needed to dig deeper, but as he got closer, the danger increased. Brick intercepted encrypted communications between Dalton and an anonymous buyer, and the coordinates led directly to a covert lab on the outskirts of Port Charles. Anna Devane couldn't shake the feeling in her stomach. For years, she had been tortured by her relationship with Faison, the manipulation, the obsession, and how he had twisted her life into knots. She had battled hard to put that chapter behind her forever, but now it appeared that fate was dragging her back into a nightmare from which she had barely escaped. When she approached Robert Scorpio, his reaction was grim. The WSB had long feared that rogue factions were experimenting with cloning methods linked to deep memory retrieval. If Dalton had the funds and access to Faison's neurological matter, the goal was not only to resurrect him, but also to weaponize his mind. Meanwhile, Sonny Corinthos had his own reasons for concern. His strengthened territories were already under attack from other forces that sensed weakness after years of constant warfare, but now someone was moving pieces on the board with surgical precision, anticipating his every move. The trouble was that it felt overly familiar. It seemed as if someone was playing Sonny like a piano, much as Faison had done during the height of his reign of pandemonium. When Sonny cross-referenced historical records, he discovered that shipments of high-tech surveillance equipment, the type Faison had previously preferred, had been ordered under bogus names tied to shell firms in Europe. Drew Kane was dragged into the turmoil when Spinelli broke into Dalton's files and discovered a horrific schematic. It wasn't just about reproducing memories. Dalton had been experimenting with hybridization, which involves splicing neurological patterns onto upgraded neural scaffolding that can adapt and evolve. In other words, he wasn't just trying to bring Faison back, he was attempting to create something even more dangerous, something smarter, faster, and more difficult to manage. Drew's instincts warned that it was already too late. Things took a dark turn when Britt Westbourne received an anonymous parcel at the hospital. Inside found a perfectly sealed bottle labeled just with her father's initials, CF. The accompanying note stated, "He is not gone. The brain remembers everything." Her hands trembled as she realized someone had gone to great efforts to bring her father's memory, or perhaps something worse, back to life. Britt wanted to remove the evidence, burn it, and forget about it, but her conscience and medical knowledge would not allow it. She took it directly to the lab, where a single DNA test verified her suspicions. The sample contained active neural tissue that perfectly matched Faison's genetic profile. Michael Corinthos, who had previously been Faison's indirect victim through various plots and manipulations, joined the investigation when he discovered Wiley was in danger. If Dalton had followed even a quarter of Faison's psychological tendencies, no one, especially their children, would be secure. Michael's fear increased as he pieced together reports of a tall, mysterious man stalking Willow late at night. Each time security footage was pulled, the image was damaged or glitched, as if someone had purposefully modified the tapes. At the same time, Valentine Cassadine entered the scene with his trademark charm and menace. He acknowledged to Anna privately that the Cassadines had supported some of Dalton's research decades ago, despite his claim that he had disbanded the program after Helena's death. But Anna didn't believe him totally. Valentine had always been a secretive person, and she thought he was hiding something explosive about Dalton's current location. Then came the first serious confirmation. Curtis Ashford's private security firm discovered Dalton's facilities at an abandoned pharmaceutical plant near the waterfront. Inside, they discovered signs of high-level biotech, containment chambers, neural scanners, and experimental cloning tanks, all covered in a thin layer of dust, as if they had been evacuated quickly. But one thing jumped out, a partially smashed containment unit labeled Project F. Jason crouched next to it, his jaw tightening as he noticed fingers smeared with fresh blood across the glass. Whoever had been there had fled quickly, and they had taken something with them. As they dug deeper, the situation became increasingly troubling. Spinelli encrypted Dalton's secure files, and a startling set of logs revealed that Dalton had successfully transferred portions of Faison's memory network onto an artificial neural lattice. That meant, in essence, that a copy of Faison's mind existed, not a complete clone, but something more unpredictable, a deformed awareness composed of his most hazardous characteristics. Jason recognized, with a heavy heart, that they weren't just fighting Faison again, they were facing something new, something smarter, something unconstrained by the restrictions of mortality. When Britt eventually encountered Dalton face to face in the dimly lighted lab beneath an ancient Cassadine property, he appeared unnervingly calm. "You don't understand," Dalton said her, his tone low and measured. "This is not about getting your father back. This is about evolution." His intelligence, his instincts, his darkness, all purified, increased, and liberated from the chaos of a decaying human body. The world does not need Faison the man. It requires what he represents. Britt recoiled in horror, but Dalton was already moving, typing commands into a terminal while the displays around them flashed with cascading streams of neurological data. Anna, Jason, and Drew rushed the facility moments later, but they arrived too late. One of the containment units had been emptied, and the tracking devices revealed a single escape path that led directly into the sewers beneath Port Charles. Something was already loose in the darkness. Jason watched the security feeds, and for a brief time, he froze. The figure captured in the grainy footage bore Faison's recognizable features, but his motions were unnatural, fluid, and faster than any human. Sonny realized then that this was no longer about vengeance or past grudges. This was about control. Whomever commanded this enlarged mind had the ability to affect every power structure in Port Charles. Tensions grew between Sonny and Valentine, with each suspecting the other of covertly working for Dalton, while Michael fought hard to safeguard Willow and the children. The crisis worsened when one of Sonny's warehouses burst in a planned explosion, leaving behind a single word engraved into the debris: "The game never ends." As panic increased, Anna confronted Dalton again, demanding to know how far this had progressed. His response shook her to the core: "I did not clone him. I improved him. And if you believe you can stop him, you've already lost." Since then, Port Charles has never been the same. There were murmurs in back alleys, shadowy sightings, and chaotic patterns that were too precise to be random. Whatever came from that lab wasn't just a relic of Faison, it was something more powerful, merciless, and potentially unstoppable. And as Jason looked out across the bay that night, the weight of it hit him. They weren't just hunting a man. They were fighting a ghost that was designed to be smarter than all of them together. The question was not whether Faison had survived. The question was whether Port Charles could withstand him. The night air was thick with tension as Jason stood on the docks, his Glock loaded and his mind racing. He'd been in a lot of gunfights, stared down mob rivals, and faced Cassadine plots that nearly wrecked him, but this was different. Faison's return, facilitated by Dalton's research, was not just another vendetta. It was the evolution of utter chaos. This was not the same man that had previously terrorized Port Charles. This was something else entirely, faster, smarter, and free of human weakness. Anna entered silently, dressed in tactical black with her hair pushed back tightly. Spinelli's signal trace confirms it, she said softly, placing a small gadget into Jason's palm. This is Dalton's neural beacon. We'll know where his creation goes, but we only have one shot. He's assimilating faster than we expected. Sunny came seconds later, followed closely by Brick. Sunny's jaw tightened, his voice quiet yet harsh. Jason, I do not like this. You're discussing using yourself as bait for something we don't understand. You don't know how to fight him. Jason inserted another clip and checked the chamber. I don't need to comprehend him. I just have to stop him. Britt Westbourne had agreed to help despite her better judgment. Her neurogenetics knowledge was the only reason they had a chance at all. Her hands shook as she prepared the counter serum she had created based on Dalton's stolen data. Listen to me, she replied, her voice cracking slightly. If this animal has even a tenth of my father's cognitive aggression, you won't have another chance. If he locks on you, you run. Jason did not answer. He only looked at her once, nodded, and then redirected his sight to the black coastline where Dalton's encrypted coordinates had guided them. Phazon's hybrid was going somewhere out there, and Jason planned to put an end to it tonight. Dalton was inside the old Cassadine tunnels beneath Port Charles, monitoring a console and holographic displays of data. The sound of slow, deliberate footfall echoed in the distance, signaling the creature's return. You're adapting even faster than expected, Dalton said softly, almost reverently. Good. They will soon come for you. And when they do... The hybrid entered the faint light. At first impression, it resembled Caesar Phazon, gaunt face, wild, intelligent eyes, menacing sneer. The discrepancies, however, were clear up close. Its motions were swift and precise, and its glare was uncanny. Memory consolidation is complete, said the hybrid, its voice deeper and more steady than Phazon's. I remember everything. Anna. Jason. Sunny. Secrets they aren't even aware they've kept. Dalton smiled slightly. Then you're ready. The hybrid inclined its head. No. You're not. Before Dalton could respond, the thing seized his throat and lifted him effortlessly off the ground. Its strength exceeded that of humans, and its muscles were improved at the cellular level. Dalton struggled for air as his feet kicked frantically. You were useful, the hybrid remarked coldly. But now, you're irrelevant. With a single furious motion, it threw Dalton across the room, slamming him into a metal panel with crushing force. Dalton lay unmoving with blood pooling beneath him. The hybrid looked towards the darkness, its pupils dilating abnormally as it mumbled to itself, Port Charles isn't ready for me, but I am ready for them. Back on the docks, the trap was prepared. Jason knelt behind a stack of shipping containers, his breathing even as he examined the shadows. Spinelli's neural beacon on his tablet pinged softly, indicating that the hybrid was approaching. Too close. Anna gripped her earpiece hard. Positions. Everyone should remain alert. Do not engage until I give the command. Sunny's men were spread out across the dock, each armed and ready, but there was a palpable unease in the air, a gut-deep suspicion that something was amiss. Brick grimaced as his thermal scanner lighted up. Jason, Brick spoke gently. I have many heat signatures inbound, one of which matches Phazon's biometric profile exactly. Before Jason could react, the lights on the pier flickered and eventually died. Son of a, Sunny said, pulling his weapon. The hush that followed was oppressive. A deep, distorted voice resonated from the shadows, Jason Morgan. Anna Devane. Sunny Corinthos, you're predictable. Jason spun, aiming into the darkness, but the hybrid moved too quickly for his eyes to trace. Before Sunny could yell, one of his guards dropped. Gunfire erupted, with bullets sparkling off metal as men scrambled for shelter. Jason dove and returned fire, but it was ineffective because the hybrid was too fast, darting through the turmoil like a phantom. During the firefight, Britt dashed to a crate where she had stashed the counter serum. She fidgeted with the injector, her hands quivering. "Jason," she yelled, hurling it at him. Jason grabbed it mid-roll and charged forward, ramming the injector into the hybrid's shoulder. For a heartbeat, he thought it worked. The thing staggered, its breath hitching. Then it slowly turned its head toward him, smiling. "Outdated formula," it muttered. "Dalton underestimated me." With one powerful backhand, the hybrid threw Jason into a steel container, his ribs splitting on impact. Anna fired twice, aiming for the creature's head, but both shots missed as it blurred out of view. Sonny's men regrouped, but one by one, they began to drop, each taken down with terrible efficiency. The hybrid then vanished into the night, as swiftly as it had appeared. The silence at the docks was almost oppressive. The smoke had cleared, but the gravity of what had just occurred weighed heavily on everyone. Jason sat on an overturned crate, rubbing his damaged ribs, as Sonny paced nearby like a caged animal, cursing under his breath. Anna stood motionless, her gaze tense and deep in contemplation, as Britt placed a blood-stained bandage around her trembling hands. Victor Cassidy's name has transformed everything. It wasn't only about Dalton anymore. It wasn't only about Faison. This was significantly bigger than any of them had anticipated. Jason eventually broke the silence, his voice low and controlled. "If Victor is still alive, Dalton was not the one pulling the strings. Dalton thought he was driving the program, but someone was running him." Sonny whirled toward him, barely containing his rage. "If Victor's calling shots from the shadows, we've been chasing ghosts while he's been building an army under our noses." Anna took a step closer, her voice calm but sharp. "You do not comprehend, Sonny. Victor was preoccupied with manipulating people's minds. Not just controlling people, but rewriting them. The WSB has files so tightly sealed that Faison's look like bedtime stories. If he is alive and has access to Dalton's cloning technology, Port Charles is not just at jeopardy. The entire world could be." Jason looked at Britt, who appeared pale and shaken. "No one knew Dalton as well as you did. Britt, what was he working on? What else haven't you told us?" Britt gulped hard and her voice broke. "Dalton told me he was mapping neurological pathways, memory, personality, reflexes, everything that defines a person. But..." She paused and shook her head. "He wasn't only cloning. He was rewriting. Editing." Sonny frowned, perplexed. "Editing what?" "People," Britt replied gently. "Dalton discovered out how to wipe certain memories, implant new ones, and change behavior. It wasn't about getting Faison back. It was about producing the ideal weapon, someone who appeared human but was programmed to obey." Jason leaned forward, his jaw tightening. Britt stopped before nodding. "So you're saying the hybrid isn't the only one? If Dalton succeeds, there may be more. Dozens. Maybe hundreds." The realization hit Sonny like a punch in the gut. "So we don't know who is real anymore?" Before anyone could react, Britt raced over with his tablet. "Boss, we've got a problem." Sonny turned sharply. "Larger than a Faison super soldier?" Britt nodded grimly and handed him the screen. "I hacked into Dalton's encrypted backup drives. There's a list of names, targets. Dalton tagged individuals for brain mapping. And... Sonny, Jason, you're both on the list." Jason glanced at the screen, his heart racing in his ears. "That does not make sense. Why would Dalton target me?" Anna exhaled softly, putting it together. Victor wanted you. He has wanted you for years. Dalton's program was not random. It is linked to Drew's memory implant research. Jason, your brain was examined when Helena Cassadine held you. If Victor has access to that data, he can rewrite you like the hybrid. Sonny's expression stiffened. Over my dead body. But Jason's mind had already wandered. If Victor desired him, there was a reason. If Dalton's technology can reprogram minds, it's possible someone close to them has already been compromised. Later that night at the safe house, the tension in the poorly lighted room was oppressive. Jason sat at the table, flipping through Dalton's stolen data, while Anna examined satellite photographs of the Cassadine homes throughout Europe. Britt hovered close, attempting to decipher Dalton's neurological code, while Sonny and Brick fought quietly in the corner about security protocols. Spinelli rushed in, frantic, clutching his laptop like a live grenade. Stone cold, he panted, we've got a breach. Jason jumped up instantly. Where? Spinelli paused, his face pallid. Not where. Who? Before anyone could ask, he flipped the laptop around. The screen showed surveillance footage from one of Corinthos' warehouses. It was obvious as day that Michael Corinthos was walking alongside a man they all recognized, Dalton. Sonny froze, and his expression darkened instantly. What the hell am I looking at? Spinelli shook his head rapidly. Listen to me before you jump to conclusions, this is tonight. While we were here, Michael was meeting Dalton on the West Pier. They talked for 6 minutes. There were no cameras or audio inside, but Michael left with a black case. Jason's chest constricted, and his voice became harsh. Michael would never work with Dalton. Anna's demeanor was bleak. Unless Michael isn't Michael anymore. Britt was shocked. Jason slapped his fist on the table. Oh my God, if Dalton already mapped his neural pathways, we aren't doing this. I'm not going to make any assumptions until I speak with him. Sonny was already on edge. Wake up, Jason. If Dalton has gotten to Michael, he is compromised. That makes him dangerous to you, me, Willow, and, most importantly, to the children. Jason's look ripped through him. He's your son. Sonny's voice became deadly quiet. Exactly. Which means if Dalton turns him into a weapon, I'll be the one to take him down. Jason took a step forward, his fists clenched, but Anna stepped between them, her voice steady. Stop it. Both of you. This is not Michael's fault. If Dalton is influencing him, he is a victim, not an enemy. However, Jason sensed something was awry. Michael, he knew, would not meet with Dalton in private unless forced to do so. This meant that Dalton, Victor, or both were already 10 steps ahead. Meanwhile, in an unknown Cassadine facility, the hybrid remained absolutely still in the midst of a sterile chamber, with dozens of electrodes hooked to its temples and cascading codes flashing over the screens surrounding it. Victor Cassadine came from the shadows, his clothes neatly ironed and his looks serene and controlled. Good, Victor said, his voice as smooth as silk. You are stronger than I thought. The hybrid said, you're faster, smarter, and remember everything. It tilted its head and spoke quietly. You gave me life. But I'm not your puppet. Victor grinned faintly. Oh, my beautiful creature, you don't comprehend. I don't have to control you. You want what I want, chaos. And together, we will burn Port Charles to the ground. A quiet voice murmured from the far corner of the chamber, stopping the hybrid in its tracks. Not just Port Charles, Victor, the voice explained gently. The entire world. Dalton emerged from the shadows, battered but alive, with his left arm in a sling. His lips formed a terrifying smile. You didn't truly believe you had killed me, did you? He remarked, locking gazes with the hybrid. Victor didn't seem surprised. He merely raised his tumbler of brandy. Hello, Dalton. Perfect timing. Let's start phase 2. Now Jason, Sunny, and Anna must confront the horrible truth. Victor and Dalton are collaborating, the hybrid is growing stronger by the hour, and Michael may already be compromised. The clock is ticking, and if they don't act quickly, Port Charles will collapse.